And joining me right now here on the Mark Moses Show is my good friend Chris Graham of the Augusta Free Press to recap ACC Media Days from last week, which appears he did not go to now. Chris, how you doing today?
Mark, the plane snafus continued for me, so no ACC Media Days.
What happened?
Well, I was texting back and forth with you a bit. I flew out of a small airport, or tried to fly, let me correct myself there, out of a small airport in the Shenandoah Valley instead of being more sensible and going out of a bigger airport a couple hours away. And so the plane's on time, it lands, we're sitting there watching the plane, the people depart the plane, and then an ambulance pulls up. And that's never a good sign. I guess the flight attendant... I'm thinking back to the movie Airplane. I'm thinking the flight attendant may have had to fish. I don't know what happened. All we were told was that the flight attendant got ill and needed to go to the hospital.
What?
And there were no other flight attendants. This is a small airport out in the middle of nowhere. There were no other flight attendants to be able to fly back with us. Federal regulations require that there be at least one flight attendant on a flight. Ergo, and it was 1:30 in the afternoon. So this, normally 1:30 in the afternoon, that's not the last flight of the day. But at this airport, that was the last flight of the day. So
you were like me, where you just said, bleep it, I'm not going. Is that what happened?
I mean, it's on the edge of a comfortable drive from where I am to Charlotte, about 5.5 hours, if you make a stop or two and that kind of thing. So, I've driven in the past. It's not a fun drive. And, so the thought went to my mind, me and the fellow sports writer Scott German was going to go with me from Team AFP. We thought, we can still get in the car and get down there, but it felt like there was something telling us not to go. Like, this flight attendant getting ill, like maybe this is just an omen. So we were only going to go. The ACC kickoff's kind of like the, I guess, SEC Media Days and all the other conferences now. They're so big. This year was going to be a 4-day event. So we were only going to go for Monday night and Tuesday and then come back Wednesday because Tuesday was when the Virginia team that we write about was going to be front and center. I just thought, it's just not meant to be. VBA had a media day scheduled for Friday, just back on ground, on campus, on grounds in Charlottesville. So we can get stuff there. And, it's great being there for the other stuff, for the other schools and all that, but it just didn't seem meant to be.
I've never been more proud of you in my life than that story because that's how I felt. The story. I told it to you off the air.
Oh yeah.
I was at the airport. They're like, I'm sorry, it's delayed 5 hours. That plane's never showing up. There's no way. Okay, it's not.
Oh, and the people at the airport try to tell us, they might fly this plane down to Charlotte and fly back with a flight attendant. And we're like, no, you're not. There's no way you're doing that.
How big was this plane that you're supposed to go on? A propeller plane? What was it?
Oh, no. There were, I think, 12 to 15 of us sitting in the lobby, waiting to get on the plane. I think it was probably a 20 to 25-seater based on, the schematic of it. So, but the airport is just tiny. I hadn't had lunch, before we left, and I think I'll just get lunch at the airport. Every airport, known to man has something like a grill or something. No, they had a vending machine, and the vending machine was on the other side of the TSA, which I only found out when I went through TSA. So I said, hey, okay, if I go back, well, yeah, you'll have to go back through security. No, I've already kind of gone through the wand once. I'm good.
Was the cook also having to go to the hospital because they had the fish? What was it?
I'm wondering, man. Well, they couldn't at least have had somebody there, like who's trained. Like, can you get? Hey, Rusty, can you get on the plane and be the flight attendant? Stop. We don't need you on bags. There's not enough people to worry about bags. Just get in there and give them some peanuts and give them a Coca-Cola and call it a day.
You make it sound like
small airport.
Look, Chris Graham, Augusta Free Press. You make it sound like at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark when he's running away and his buddy's in that plane with the snake. That's what it sounds like. The plane you're getting into to try to get to Charlotte in this story.
Oh, It feels like I didn't get on the plane, but it, kind of makes me think, before 9/11, you might occasionally get on a plane where it was so small they didn't have technically a cockpit, with a door and all that. They would just put a little, a little curtain up.
Yes.
And they wouldn't do announcements over an intercom. They would just, move the curtain and say, "We're getting ready to land."
Oh man. Well, that was more interesting probably than anything that happened at ACC Media Days. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we still haven't gotten we haven't gotten the results of the media vote, as important as that is on, the all conference teams and the predicted order of finish and all that fun stuff. Because it's the writers and broadcasters put so much time in that. I didn't vote. People don't put any time and effort into that stuff. There's 17 teams in this conference now. 3 of them are brand new. Nobody watches all 17 teams. So, I didn't even waste my time filling that out. But we don't know that. And, it was the first year that Cal and Stanford and SMU were a part of it. So, the ACC doesn't mean anything, at least as far as what the acronym spells out, Atlantic Coast Conference. Other than that, it was probably pretty uneventful.
I thought, hey, I'm going to get Chris on Monday. He's going to give me a full recap, and he's going to break down these teams. This is even better, though, because you're like, I didn't get on the plane. I didn't eat anything. This woman left in an ambulance, and I didn't vote. I don't care anymore. What happened? But it's like your heart is broken, man. How do I cheer you up after this?
Oh, no, it's all fine. The football season, and football's here. Even if I didn't get to go, I was just going. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you here, Mark, and you might think the same way.
What?
About SEC Media Days. I don't go to these things for the news anymore. I just go to hang out with, hang out with a couple of sports writers I don't see very often, and really just an excuse to do something. It's summertime. Practice starts now. Covering football practice is actually, I'm going to tell the listeners out there something that they probably already know, but covering football practice is kind of boring too. So we're just all waiting for the games to start. Writing about the season starts in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Writing about football practice is Allen Iverson had it right. You're talking about practice. And so this was just an excuse to do something. And yeah, I got a better story out of it than I would have if I'd have gone.
Well, you bring up a good point, because I feel like I am getting older where I've heard the same thing over and over again. Like, oh, the guys are really coming together. This new strength coach, he's got a new program. They're eating, this granola bar now, and it's the same thing. And I hear it, and it's every city in America out there. This is the team. There's a lot of optimism. And I always say this, Chris, I want to get your thoughts. July and August is fantasy time, because everything, we're going to do this and this. September and early October is reality. Oh, no, we suck again. Just like Rob Schneider says in The Waterboy. That's what it thinks to me. Right now, we're in fantasy world. Yay! We're going to be great. We're at training camp. This is going to be awesome. And, high school level, here's what I get. Every single coach, and God bless them. We got a really good team this year, and the seniors are really stepping up as a leadership role, and they're really showing the young guys what they do. It's the same nonsense every year. So I'm with you, Chris. I am.
Yeah, everybody's 0-0. I remember I was, before, so 2 years ago when Tony Elliott was at his first ACC football kickoff as the new head coach at Virginia, former Clemson offensive coordinator. He's at Virginia first time. And I duck into the bathroom real quick before, because I'm there to cover Virginia, and he's getting ready to go in front of all the people and on TV cameras and all that stuff. And it happens, he's in the bathroom too. And one of his players is in there with him. And one of the players says, "Coach, are you nervous?" And Coach Elliott said, "No, everybody's 0-0 right now. I'm undefeated. I'm right now, everybody loves me." And that's where we are right now in the season. Everybody's 0-0. I'm writing about a Virginia team that has won a total of 6 games in the last 2 years. 6-16 record in the last 2 years, and first 2 years under Tony Elliott. And, the dream this year is that they'll make a bowl. Gosh, they might win 6 or 7 games and win a bowl. And right now, it's possible. So, and until they lose one of those first couple of games in September, it's possible. So that's where we all are.
I don't want to hear any about your losing. I saw my White Sox play yesterday with my brother. They are currently 27-81 and on a current 14-game losing streak. That's pain. I don't want to hear we can't make a bowl game. No. I've seen real terrible. I hope you know this, Chris.
But see, I've covered UVA football for 25 years, and they've had 3 winning seasons in the last 15 of those years, and a couple 500 seasons. So, I mean, if you want to count those, 5 out of the last 15 years. Your White Sox at least have been competitive, not this year. And a difference too with the White Sox and like a bad college football team. The White Sox, tomorrow's a trade deadline. They might get better. I mean, not better right away, but they can trade some guys away and get some. In college football,
no,
you suck now. You're going to suck next year too.
Hey, have you ever covered a team where it was like 0 or 1 wins, where it was that bad?
Oh, I was so this is at the FCS level, 1AA level. I was the radio play-by-play guy for VMI Football, Virginia Military Institute, in the Southern Conference, which actually at the FCS level is a really good conference. There's usually 3 or 4 playoff teams out of that conference every year. And the first year I did VMI Football play-by-play, they were 1-10. The second year they were 0-11, which means the 1-10 year, they beat the Division II team that they played on the schedule, the division below them team. In the second year, they lost to the Division II team. That's bad football.
It is. I have it worse, though. But you were on the play-by-play. Wait, I'm contradicting myself in my own show, but yeah, you were on the play-by-play, but you were getting paid at least. So you had that over me.
I was getting paid,
Yeah. The weirdest year ever is 2015. When UCF football went 0-12, which made no sense. George O'Leary, he's like, I'll also be the interim AD, and it's just bizarre. And there was a bar in downtown Orlando that thought they were cute, where it's like, hey, during the UCF game, free beer until they win a football game. Okay? They went 0-12. And look, it was probably like a Dixie cup. You got the free beer. That's probably what it was. But it makes no sense, that team, Chris, because they were always competitive, and they're always going to bowl games. And 0-12, that season makes absolutely no sense. But you know what it started? 2 years later, they went undefeated and called themselves the national champions.
Well, just like the reverse of my story is, so in those 1-10 and 0-11 years doing FCS football play-by-play for bad teams, the 2020 season is probably still the weirdest, because it was technically 2021. FCS didn't play in 2020 because of COVID, even though FBS did. So spring of 2021, VMI goes from being as bad as they were a couple of years before to the playoffs. But, of course, it was a truncated season, didn't get as many games. And we had to, it was awkward. It's awkward. It was awkward enough talking for 3 hours. And I don't know if people realize, when you're doing play-by-play for football, and we don't have a studio. We don't have a halftime studio show. We were the halftime studio show. So when you sit down in that booth, you're there until you're done with the post-game show, 3.5 hours later. And yes, you don't get to go to the bathroom in between. The timeouts aren't long enough. So, we had to wear masks and talk through masks all that time. We couldn't go to the bathroom, and then they're doing well. So you're like, it was exciting and weird all the thing. And it's spring football too. Everything about 2021 was just so good.
We don't have to go back there if you don't want to. Okay,
I gladly will not go back there. Yeah.
We don't have to do it. Hey, there's been games in my career where the game is so awful that I have to it's like there's 2 people talking to my brain, which usually is happening as a Gemini, but it's like one is calling the game and there's this other part of my brain that's going, Mark, you are a professional. You are getting paid for this. Stay pro. Don't go negative. Keep going. Does that happen to you when you're calling those games?
I actually did. So I did baseball too on ESPN Plus for several years, and I did a doubleheader one Saturday, 2 7-inning game doubleheader, and the first game was 25-1. And so you've already told all the stories you can tell. I mean, to keep whoever was already tuned in still, because there's a game 2. You want to keep, come back in 30 minutes for game 2, and game 2 was 16-2. So I mean, that was quite a day, because you've already told all your stories, and now you've got to make up stories to keep people interested. Talk about you can only talk about the kid's high school coach when he was a sophomore, but so many times. There's only so many guys on the roster. That was a tough day.
Hey, calling the Super Bowl is easy. And the other example would probably be like Duke UNC college basketball. Calling that game's easy. The atmosphere, the players, the history, everyone's like, that's an easy game to call. Call that game I was watching yesterday when they're on a current 14-game losing streak. You're on the radio, and there's no hope for anything, and the home crowd is booing the team at the home stadium. Try calling that game. So you know what? I give you all the credit in the world. I know this started with how you didn't get on the airplane, but I have a story for you then. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
All right. So last Thursday, I'm at the airport for round 2. After the week before, I didn't get on my airplane. So here's what happened. I get to the gate, and here's what they do. You know what I'm going to say.
Uh-huh.
The woman gets on the intercom, and she goes, all right, attention, passengers going to Chicago. We have oversold this flight. I'm like, oh, no, here we go. We need 5 individuals to step up, not get on this flight. And here's what we're going to give you. It's kind of like a game show, Chris, when you think about it. Because in the moment, everyone's paying attention. We're going to give you a flight for tomorrow morning and a hotel right by the airport. And $1,000. She pauses. I was like, ooh, $1,000. To our airlines and airline credit.
Yes.
No. So everyone's dead quiet. No one wanted. If they said $1,000 cash, Chris, would you have taken the offer then?
Absolutely. With the hotel and the flight the next morning, sign. I mean, I don't even need the $1,000, but it's $1,000, man.
Yes.
That's easy money.
See, this is the problem, and I won't say which airline it is. It's not a good airline, and you're giving me $1,000 of your airline. So if I take the airline credit, I'll just go on more planes that are delayed or canceled. Am I ever going on an actual plane with the $1,000 credit? That's my question.
Well, and who knows? This company may go out of business before you would never get to use that too. I mean, I think the company that I will also not name that had the sick flight attendant. I feel bad for the poor lady and everything else, but come on, have a flight attendant there waiting for us. But I don't know that they're going to be around next week. So no, don't give me credit. Give me cash.
I like we make the airlines out to be Voldemort from Harry Potter. We can't say their name. Yeah, we're too embarrassed. If it was $5,000 in airline credit, would you do it?
I think still your argument applies about the bad airline. You're just signing up for it. It's kind of like Elaine on Seinfeld. She lost her little subway card, and she only had one more punch to get, and she ate a lot of bad subs to get there. I mean, how many more bad flights do you have to take to?
I think what happened last night is the worst, though. Worse than getting canceled from the plane. Last night, I'm at O'Hare Airport, and we get on the plane, and then we're stuck on the runway because there's like 25 planes that have to take off before us. So we're sitting there. I'm like, I have a window seat. I'm just watching airplanes start flying in the air for an hour. It's like, when's our turn? That might be the worst.
When I was flying out to the College World Series, I flew from Charlottesville to Chicago and then Chicago to Omaha. And our plane lands, a good 20 minutes before it was scheduled to land. And we had a connecting flight about, 45. It was about an hour supposedly after the plane landed. So I'm thinking, man, I got all kinds of time. I'll go walk around the airport, see what's up in O'Hare. And we sat on the tarmac for a good 45 minutes. There were some weather issues. They said weather issues. Then they said there were tarmac issues. And all I know was they turned the air conditioning off. We all had to go to the bathroom. It's just, it's first world problems, I know. But, because all of a sudden you're going from, I'm going to walk around the airport and see what they got to. I better hustle to the gate. And then you hustle to the gate, and the gate changed. and that plane was delayed a couple hours.
Oh, so you're good.
It all worked out in the wrong way, in a good way though. But
yeah,
oh man, yeah. These are the fun experiences with sports writers, sports broadcasters that often don't make the air, except when you don't get to go where you're going.
That's right. Oh, one time last summer I was in New Orleans and I bought a flight back to Florida, and I get to the airport and they're like, "There's no flight back to Orlando. That's not a flight." That's what happened. So they're like, so I'm arguing with them. You sold me a flight. They're like, "Well, that airplane doesn't exist." Not only does my flight not exist, the whole airplane doesn't exist. Okay. So I went to the next counter over and said, "Hey, do you have a flight back to Orlando?" She's like, "Yeah, it leaves in like 45 minutes. So I went old school, took out the wallet and said, "I would like to buy a ticket on that plane." She looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what do you mean? I said, "I need to get on that flight." Planes, trains, and automobiles, my friend. That's what I did to get back to Florida.
That's probably that's the first time in 20 years probably anybody's ever done that. You actually bought the ticket at the counter. Yeah, they're not equipped to do that.
At the counter, they gave me the actual ticket, old school style. That's right. "Excuse me, I'm going on this plane." It was so great. That was a good time.
Frame that is what you need to do.
Yeah, I need to do exactly. I'll have it right by when I was in New York City and I bought a New York Knicks ticket, scalped on the street, and I went up to the ticket guy inside MSG, and he yelled out in front of everyone, "This is a fake ticket. Get this guy out of here." So I have been in Madison Square Garden, but I've never actually seen the basketball court. So that's on the list. There you go.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, before I let you go, Chris Graham, do you need to come back on in a couple weeks and we can actually preview the ACC? Can we do that?
I'll probably be ready by then. I'll be over my hurt feelings over not being in Charlotte, and by then I'll know more about the ACC. So, yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
I'll tell you this. Miami has a lot of hype. I think the Gators are going to beat them in the opener. I'm not kidding.
Oh, Miami always has hype. They're the best football team from January 15th to August 30th that there is in football. They recruit great. They have great spring practice, great fall, and then they go 6-6 every year. So yeah, I think you're right about that. Florida State and Clemson will be good. Okay, here's my quick analysis. Then Carolina won't be as good because they don't have Drake May. And there's your ACC preview. But I'll have more detail in a couple weeks.
They couldn't win with Drake May.
They couldn't win with Drake May, right?
Yeah, what are you talking about? And look, I want Miami to be good. I do. Like, I think it's better for college football because they're a great character. They are. But here's my problem. Like, you're like, okay, I miss ACC Media Days. I don't even know if there's going to be an ACC. I don't know what the hell's going to happen moving forward. I don't know who's going to be in the conference. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 5 weeks with the whole conference in general. How about you?
I don't think that this is going to be resolved anytime soon. Florida State and Clemson have lawsuits filed against the ACC. Who's countersued back? I know there's a date coming up in August, something like August 12th or something like that, either August 12th or August 15th, where those two schools can signal their intent to leave the conference after this year. I doubt that happens. I think these court cases that the two schools have filed are all about trying to gain leverage over the ACC so that they can negotiate down those exit fees, which right now would be between $500 and $600 million. They don't even have invites anywhere else. I don't know who would invite them. There's talk about the Big 12. That makes no sense to me. They make less money in the Big 12 than they're even making from the ACC right now. So I think this is something that'll play out over the next couple of years. It's definitely fun to talk about.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. There's not 1 inch of my body that cares about these schools not making enough money from a TV deal. And I can't stress this enough. I do not care. I got my own problems. I'm not going to go boo-hoo over a school that constantly charges, how do I say this? Students over $20,000 to go to their university, and they're crying because they're out $5 million in a TV deal. I don't care anymore.
And if anybody, we sports writers, media people look at these things. If you look at the profit loss statements for college sports programs, nobody's actually profiting. Nobody's making money. If you bring more revenues in, you just spend it So it's not like you're putting money in the bank and paying out dividends, and the school gets to put a new English department building up or anything if they make $20 million this year. It's just going right back out the door. So, yeah, in the end, who cares? Just go out there and play games.
Play games. Very well said. This man did not get on an airplane, but he came on the show today. I appreciate that. Chris Graham, Augusta Free Press. My man, thanks for your help and have a great day.
Thanks, Mark.